Good evening. I'm Brandon Cassidy and welcome to the CFTK-TV Northwest Regional Air Show Special. If you missed the air show when it was here in Terrace, don't worry, we've got highlight reels and lots of special guests that you may not have gotten to talk to even if you were here in attendance. When an audience is at an air show, it usually happens in the air and they don't give much thought as to what happens on the ground, where everyone pulls on the same rope to get the planes back on the ground safely. And as our first guest will tell you, they also get the people back on the ground safely. The Canadian Skyhawks were established in 1971, and they're still jumping to this day, 51 years later. Master Corporal Christine Kozeman joins us and tells us what it's about to be a Skyhawk in the Canadian military parachute demonstrating team. I'm joined now by Christine Kezuma of the Canadian Armed Forces parachute team, the Skyhawks. Christine, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
So if you could just kind of let me know where you hail from and what your job is on the team.
Right, so I'm in Vancouver Island on Campbell River, and my position on the team, I'm a demonstrator and jumping out of the planes.
So you're a demonstrator that jumps out of the planes 13,000 feet every day?
Actually, our show is from 6,000 feet,
okay.
Because that's best for civilians, or I guess
everyone
to watch from the ground. Yeah, we put a show on. Yeah, so everyone can see it, and we bring it low to the ground.
Right into the ground. My goodness! Now, are you jumping out of the Hercules that we saw you land in today?
We did in Cold Lake this weekend, or I guess this week on Wednesday. We are jumping out of a Skyvan.
Out of a Skyvan.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference between a Hercules and a Skyvan?
A Hercules is quite large. A Skyvan could probably fit inside the Hercules.
Wow, that's
yeah.
amazing.
But the Skyvan is still quite big. It holds 22 jumpers
22?
around. Yeah.
Holy
yeah.
cow. What is a demonstrator? What do you do exactly besides jump out of a plane? It sounds pretty simple, but what is it exactly?
Right, so on the team, I fly a very large flag, generally a 450-foot square foot flag with a weight attached to the bottom, trailing behind me. I do that all on my own, usually behind another formation called the Canadian T, which is, they also have a very large flag with two people on top. It's a 3-stack kind of mishmash of humans coming together and attaching themselves to the canopy and the lines.
So now that sounds like a pretty rigorous training that you would have to do in order to do that with pretty much day in, day out with these people.
Yeah. So our training, just to get onto the Skyhawks, we need a minimum of 50 jumps. Oh, wow. Most of us actually jump as civilians and do it as a hobby. Oh, wow. So we come into it with a wealth of knowledge, as well as there's 4 full-time members that are on 2- or 3-year contracts.
Oh, wow.
And so they are also our instructors. Okay. And then we go down to California, down to SoCal, and we train for 5 weeks with our full-time cadre members, who you'll talk to in a little bit.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
Yeah, and we do like 6 to 8 jumps a day for 4 or 5 weeks straight, and get our show routine dialed in, and
wow.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, do you guys meet on a regular basis? Do you guys live together and train together and whatnot?
Yes,
or is
so we're based out of Trenton, Ontario.
Okay.
And that's where our full-time cadre team is based out of. And we're stationed there, and then we travel about. We kicked off our Western Swing just this last weekend in Cold Lake in Alberta, and then we have 8 shows over the next 4 weeks, all throughout BC and Alberta. And then we go back to Ontario, and then we have a bunch of Ontario and Quebec shows, and out to Nova Scotia.
Could you take us through a jump? Just like from packing and everything else on the ground, getting up there, and what it's like.
Yeah, so we go in, we go through our jump master check, so someone checks our gear. We do our own personal check on it. We turn on our little automatic assisted deployment device, which they all have, and it's a foolproof system. And we put it on, we go through a jump master check, and he checks that everything is all tickety-boo. We load into the plane. At 3,000 feet, we throw out a wind direction indicator, which are some streamers. You'll see them on the show on Wednesday. It's like little streamers falling from the sky, and they land. And Yeah, so we do that, and then at 6,000 feet, we get the go-ahead to rock and roll, and before that, we fist bump and do all, woo! You know, we go through our like, yeah, or like get pumped and get motivated, and yeah, so doors open, and you just hook yourself out of the plane, throw your parachute, open up, and yeah, for me, just because I ride solo, I just kind of make sure I'm in a good landing area, or holding over like a nice area. And at 2,000 feet, I deploy a giant flag, and just nice,
kind of
sweet sachets down.
Now, it's just one final question for you. If you could speak to anybody, boy, girl, doesn't matter, what would you say to them if they were thinking about the Skyhawks or what it would be like?
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. Anyone can do it. Like there's no age limit. There's no weight or height, or as if you're physically fit, go for it. And at the end of the day, like do what you love. And if you love jumping out of planes, this is a really good opportunity.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much
Yeah.
for joining us.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Master Corporal Christine Kuzma showing us just how hard the Canadian Skyhawks work together to not only get up in the air, but to get back on the ground safely and in fine formation. Diving even further into the Canadian Skyhawks, we spoke with Master Corporal Trevor Nealon, a Canadian Skyhawks team member who is a team rigger as well as jump master. Trevor, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, what is your job on the team exactly?
So I am one of the cadre members, so I'm permanently posted to the team. I'm also one of the team riggers and one of the team jump masters.
Okay, so a team rigger and jump master. What, if you could explain what those are?
So rigger, subject matter expert on parachute systems. With regards to the team, my job is to maintain the pack jobs for the reserve parachutes, as well as carry out any repairs to the actual canopies, harnesses, whatever may become damaged during the season. So we're subject matter experts for the parachutes, and then we also deal with the reserve parachutes as well as any maintenance that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
As for the jump master, so what the jump master does is we're in charge of the dispatch of the parachutists from the airplane. So what that involves is controlling the jumpers getting on the plane. What we'll also do is we'll do call the spot. This is when the plane is on jump run. We're looking outside the plane to ensure that we are in the right spot and that it's safe for the jumpers to go, and based on the winds where we will actually start to dispatch from and put jumpers in the air.
Oh wow! So you're kind of the one that like kind of coordinates the whole thing there.
Yeah, there's a lot of coordination between myself, the other jump masters on board, as well as to the aircraft captain, the pilot, to make sure that we're safe and in the right spot.
Absolutely. Now, why the Skyhawk? What brought you to them, or vice versa?
So my trade in the Army is airdrop systems technician, which is colloquially known as parachute riggers, and so it's the Skyhawks has positions in the cadre for 2 riggers, and it was just my turn, and I was posted into the team this year. So this is my first season on the team.
Now, as far as that kind of goes, like there's got to be a lot of training. Like you're packing reserve chutes for people. Like that's a very important job.
Yes. So for airdrop systems technicians to become fully qualified, it takes approximately 3 years currently. There's three phases of training. It starts with the packing course, which covers all 19 different parachute systems that are, the Green Army uses. Wow. Which includes cargo, round personnel chutes, and then square personnel chutes. Once you're done that, you get some time on the what we call time on the tables packing, and then we move on to your maintainer course, which is where you learn how to fix and repair the parachutes, harnesses, whatever it may be. Okay. The final phase is the parachute rigger specialist course, and that is teaches you how to supervise packing and maintenance crews, and as well as do some accident investigations, just a little bit more advanced. Then you're ready to be posted out to various units wherever riggers are.
Now, you said you were a more permanent part of the team?
Yes. So I'm one of the cadre. So the cadre is there's right now there's 2 riggers as well as the team captain and the team warrant officer. We're permanently posted there, so we're there 365 days a year. Whereas the remainder of the team is made up of what we call augmentees, and they're brought in to round out the team for the season. They're only there for the year kind of deal. It's an application process. There's a tryout phase, and then there's the training, and then carrying on forward with the team once it's selected.
As far as your jumps go, can you recall your first?
I can recall most of it. I don't remember leaving the door. I remember so my first jump was on a round canopy with the basic parachutist course, and I remember I stood up and hooked up my static line to the anchor line cable, and I said, "Oh wow, I am attached to this plane, and the only way off is out that little door." And green light came on, and I remember getting to the door, and then I looked up, and I was under canopy.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now, you're a demonstrator as well as a rigger and whatnot.
Yes, so I'm also one of the jumpers. So I'm on the 3-stack drag formation. I'm the muscle man. So I'm in the center. So I hold on to the jumper below me, which she flips upside down, and I hold on. And our pilot brings us towards the crowd, and then he'll release us, and then we go into a downplane towards the ground, just being held on by sheer force of will.
Wow, that is incredible. If you had kind of one favorite part of a jump, being the rigger as well as the demonstrator, what would the favorite part of the jump be?
Kind of 2 parts. My first favorite part would be sticking my head out of the side of a Hercules doing 130 knots to look on jump run to see where we are. And then when you first leave the plane, when you hit into that the airstream and that 130 knots hits you in the face and blows you backwards, it's a pretty unreal feeling.
No kidding. Wow. Now, if there was one thing that you would say to any little boy, little girl out there thinking about what are the Skyhawks, what do they mean to Canada, 1, what does it mean to you, and 2, what would you say to them?
So for me, the Skyhawks is a really neat opportunity for Armed Forces members to be put on, to kind of interact with the crowd, because we take anybody, doesn't matter, any trade, from coast to coast, Navy, Air Force, Army, and so anybody can be a part of the Skyhawks that's in the military, and it's a really neat opportunity to showcase the talent and the ability of Armed Forces members from coast to coast. And if I was to speak to anybody that was considering doing it, follow your dreams. Don't let yourself hold you back. Go for it. If you want to join the military and become a Skyhawk, I highly recommend it. It's one of the most unique opportunities that you'll ever get in the military and in jumping too. There's not a lot of opportunities for people to do canopy relative work like we do with our formations.
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming by, Master Corporal. I really appreciate you coming by. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Some amazing people doing amazing things together. The Canadian Skyhawks, and a big thank you to them for Master Corporal Kozelman and Nealon for coming on and showing us just what opportunities may present themselves and to grab a hold of them. Speaking of opportunities, up next we speak with Captain Logan Reed of the Canadian Snowbirds formation team. Right after this, when the CFTK-TV Northwest Regional Airshow Special continues. Welcome back. As our Skyhawk guest pointed out before the break, teamwork really is paramount to the success of the team, and they're not alone in that train of thought. Our next guest is a member of the Aero Formation team that is renowned by the world and beloved by Canadians everywhere. I caught up with Captain Logan Reed of the number 8 Tudor jet of the Canadian Snowbirds formation team. Take a look at what he has to say about opportunities and seizing them. I'm joined now by Captain Logan Reed of the Canadian Snowbirds. Captain, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
With the Snowbirds, you guys fly in very, very tight formations. What kind of training does it take in order to be able to fly in such tight quarters?
It takes a lot of training. A lot of people think that we're just working the summertime. That's in fact not the case. We're working all year long to be able to put the air show in front of the crowd that you guys saw today. We start off with a brand new team, well, not necessarily brand new, but new members that join us in October, and we'll start working them up through very basic principles, building up the fundamentals in November, December, and all the way until the springtime before we start putting together the air show you guys saw. So we're working really hard, flying 2-3 times a day sometimes in order to get those skill sets built up, and then we'll do our first air show typically in April. So we start the season off in April, May, and then continue all the way through to October.
And so that's a whole lot of work. I mean, but from not only yourself, but the rest of the Snowbirds. What kind of a dedication and family impact on your families? I'm sure it must be a lot of sacrifices for them to be able to see you succeed at such a level.
It absolutely is. It's a little bit of a selfish profession, to be sure. Like I said, we're on the road a lot. We're 5 to 6 weeks away from home sometimes before we get the chance to visit and go cut the lawn and take the trash out. And try to make ourselves a little bit scarce so we don't disrupt the home pattern. But no, our families are very supportive. We couldn't do it without them, absolutely. So it's not without them that we're able to do this job.
So, I mean, talking about support, all of Canada supports the Snowbirds. You guys are an internationally renowned team. You were mentioning before that it means quite a bit to you to don the red suit in the formation. Is there a particular formation to you that represents the Snowbirds the best?
Our calling card formation is what we call Big Diamond, and that's the one that we identify ourselves with. Everyone is in their natural positions when they're in Big Diamond, we like to say it. So that's our quintessential one. That's the one that we've been flying, I think, in the air the longest, and it's the one that when you hear Big Diamond go from the boss in the air, you're like, yeah, we're in Big Diamond now. It's great.
And so you're at plane number 8, I see on your hat there. Now, what does it mean what do you see when you're in Big Diamond from plane number 8? What are you looking at from plane number 8?
So I'm on the left side of the cockpit in the number 8 position, and I'm looking through one other aircraft before I see the boss. One interesting thing that I didn't quite know when I wasn't a pilot was that every single person in the formation is looking at the same aircraft. They're not looking at the plane beside them. They're not looking at the airplane above them. They're just looking at the number 1 aircraft we call the boss. And every little movement that the jet does, that the boss does, he calls over the radio, but you're always keeping your eyes fixated on that so you can really pay attention to the minute details that happen from a little bit of extra bank or a little bit of extra pitch. And you try really hard not to be distracted by that other aircraft that's only 4 feet away.
4 feet away in such a powerful jet, the Tudor. It's an aged plane, especially for the Canadian Forces. We were talking beforehand, but if you could just talk to me about the Tudor plane and how well equipped it is to be the Snowbirds plane.
It's a fantastic plane. The Tudor is a designed and built in Canada jet. It's of a certain vintage. From the mid-1960s or so is my aircraft, but it's fantastically well maintained. It's perfect for its role. It's trained student pilots for the Canadian Forces in all sorts of roles for decades, very successfully, although now it's only employed in its formation aerobatic role. We love what it does. It employs us right in stage center because it's not the fastest aircraft in the world, and it's fairly light with a good ratio. We're able to stay right in front of the crowd and not be zooming too far right, too far left, and we're always giving people something to look out for. So we're very happy to fly it. We love it.
And so with that, Captain, now, is there anything that you would say to the young and impressionable if they were to be like, Captain, how can I become a snowbird, and should I? What would you say to them?
Well, the standard response is work hard, study hard, but what I think is the most important to remember is that everybody's going to hit a stumbling block, and to not let that hit you down. We're always going to face challenges in life. We're going to have difficulties. Something's going to knock you in the teeth. But the most important part is to remember, hey, I'm better than this small defeat, and rise to have a new start.
Captain, I can't appreciate you. Thank you so very much for doing this. Logan Reed of the Canadian Snowbirds acrobatics team. Thank you so much, Captain.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Relentless perseverance brought Captain Logan Reed to don the red suit of the Canadian Snowbirds formation team. And I don't know about you, but when I see that Big Diamond formation, it fills me with humility at the power of those jets. Speaking of a powerful jet and humility, we spoke to a humble captain of the CF-18 demo team. Captain Jesse Haggart-Smith joins us when we return to the CFTK-TV Northwest Regional Airshow special right after this. Welcome back. As Captain Logan Reed told us before the break, it's a lot of dedication and hard work, but it's very rewarding in the end of it. A big thank you to the Snowbirds for allowing us the time to talk with him, and a big thank you to him and his family for not only their services, but the opportunity to speak with them. Speaking of a dedicated pilot, we caught up with Captain Jesse Haggart-Smith of the CF-18 Demo Hornet of the Canadian Fighting Forces. That being said, Captain Jesse Haggart-Smith tells us it's not just about him in the air, but the team on the ground that keeps him going. I'm joined by Jesse Haggart-Smith of the CF-18 Canadian Armed Forces CF-18 demo fighter pilot for the Northwest Regional Airshow. Jesse, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
So if you wouldn't mind just telling me kind of how you got into being a fighter pilot and what made you get into it. Was it Top Gun like everybody else back in the day?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've always had a passion for aviation, growing up hearing stories about my grandfather in the Second World War, fighting in the Air Force. From the time I was 12, I joined the Air Cadets, went through and at 16 joined the military, went off to the military college, and then I've been able to continue down that pathway, and I've now been flying the F-18 for 4.5 years.
Taken to a sense of camaraderie with the rest of the fighter pilots in the CAF, or does that just basically more for the guys that are overseas, or is it?
No, I mean there's definitely a sense of camaraderie amongst all the pilots and the ground crew as well, right? We're all working towards the same mission. That's kind of the beautiful thing about being in the armed forces. It's a group of highly capable people all working together towards the same goal, and there's something just really quite special about that.
If you could just kind of take me through how you became the CF-18 demo pilot. It's one thing to become a pilot, but the demo pilot, you've got to be quite something up there.
I appreciate that. So once I was already through my full training syllabus and fully qualified, I've been on squadron now for 4 years, and they put out the call. There were a bunch of qualified people, and I'm sure any of the other pilots who had applied would have done a great job as well. That's the beauty of our organization. We always have such great people, but I was lucky enough to be selected, and so now I get the privilege of touring around the country and showing what not only the jet but what the RCAF can do by and large.
So with regard to the show itself, is there like an amount of time that you can be the demo pilot and then you have to kind of hand off the torch to somebody else?
So it's a one and done. I get 1 year of this, and then next year I'll be out there training up the next pilot to take my place, fill my shoes.
Show, I was speaking with your communications officer earlier, and he was mentioning that it's quite a show. Now, what's your favorite part of the show, if there is one?
Yeah, so I think my favorite part still has to be the square loop that we do. That's where you go straight up, and then you flop on the back, and you go straight across, and then straight back down at the ground. And that last portion, the adrenaline rush of hurtling straight towards the ground, just 2,500 feet above when you pull out to recover. It's amazing. It's something that you never fully get used to, and it's always thrilling.
Some incredible people working at the top of their class, representing Canada and its fighting forces with commitment, courage, and class. We've seen pinpoint accuracy in formations, we've seen daring stunts jumping from planes, and sheer power with that CF-18. That being said, that's just the machines. The people are nothing short of spectacular and surpassing the mark by miles. And for now, I'm Brian Cassidy, wishing you smooth landings and clear skies. That is all for the Northwest Regional Airshow Special here on CFTK-TV.